Hello, everyone. We are back with another discussion, just like we had last time. So I have Debra Wilder here with me. Hi, Debra.
Hi.
Great to see you again.
Yeah,
So,
you too.
in case this is the first time you see us, let me introduce to you Debra. So, Debra Wilder is a meditation teacher trainer and has been teaching Tantra for over 10 years now. She focuses on practices for solo before moving on to partner practices. She previously worked as a certified dating coach in Silicon Valley, and she currently lives in Florida, USA. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to do this call again, this YouTube video, after we got a few questions, comments in from the last one.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here. If anybody saw last time the interview, I'm excited too. Okay, I'm nervous too. I'm excited too. Okay, so let's get to today's topic. So we were discussing when we started thinking about doing these podcasts, we spoke about two ideas. And the second idea was the age difference in intimate relationships. And we have a structure set up, and I'm going to read it to you. You're going to find timestamps underneath. It's just that right now I'm just going to read the ideas and make a few short comments on them. So the first thing is, what is the age difference that we'd find it best to work with? Okay, everything that you're going to hear in this video is going to be an invitation for you to consider. And we have some ideas here, the recurring age gap that you have in your intimate relationships. If you notice that that gap changed at a certain point, or maybe it didn't, if you ever noticed if the age difference widened abruptly, for some people it may have happened, for others maybe not. And lastly, how do you view yourself as a partner? Normal, meaning at your own age, young, old, never thought of this before. So it's an invitation here to look at some psychological issues. Okay, point number 2. Everyone ages, including you, me, Debra, our wolves, everybody. So we're going to talk about a bit about some ideas around the aging process. We're mostly going to focus on intimacy and reproduction because there is some underlying thought here about reproduction. And then there's a question related to aging. When did you find yourself no longer wanting to date in your age category? If this applies, okay? Some people may have stuck to their age category, the age that they're in, like Keanu Reeves, and that's it. But, this is something that we're going to look at. Okay, number 3, we're going to look at some famous examples of age difference couples, just a few. Number 4, this is an idea that I proposed. And this is, you may have met your love, the love of your life already. And some thoughts here. Some of the most beautiful relationships that ended well, that maybe you would be more than okay to go back to. Someone you know for some time already and you could build a relationship with. And hopefully someone you still have the hots for. Okay, and number 5, only thinking that wrong matches are available or people of a certain age are wrong for you. This is something that we're going to look into. And this is about our thought patterns around relationships, positive thinking versus negative thinking around relationships and dating. And actually, Deborah's going to have a lot to share with us here. Okay, so.
Yeah, so we can end on a more positive note. The whole discussion will be all around aging.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, let's jump to the first point on our discussion. What is the age difference that we'd find it best to work with? We're inviting everybody who's watching to consider for a relationship, what is the age difference that I, whoever the I is watching, I could work with? Okay, and some thoughts here. If there was any recurring age gap in your relationships, if it changed at a certain point, so let's look at these. How would you how, when you work with people, do they ever come up with this discussion? I'm too old or too young, my partner's too old, or the person that I'm interested in is too old, too young for an intimate relationship with me?
I see more people have a very wide age gap, mostly when they're younger, like 20. They might have a 10, 15-year, 20-year age gap. But then when they get older, say 35, they shrink that down.
Aha.
But not always.
Okay.
I think especially for men will consider a wider gap.
Uh-huh. Okay. So in my coaching sessions, nobody came with this topic. This is something that I've seen only through the comments that I got on certain videos that I was putting out there. And it struck me that the stuff that I was reading in comments, nobody cares about what older women think. People want younger women. I shared with you a really nasty comment that I got.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what to think about that. So in my case, I've seen that people really, the issues that they bring are around how do we get along. Um, and in some cases, some people thinking maybe I am too old, like thinking about themselves, not their partners, too old to want adventures or stuff like that. And this I've heard from some women, not all of them. And they were in their 30s. I want to point that out. It's like not even halfway through their lives. So, yeah. So, recurring age gap in relationships. I've seen people dating younger, like mostly men dating younger women. I've seen people dating the same age or just, 1 or 2 years in age gap. So I haven't seen this aside from the nasty comments that I sometimes read from people who don't really share their real pictures, real names, anonymous. Those are some of the inconsiderate stuff that I hear. Otherwise, in real life, I don't have that really.
No. In real life, you don't see people making comments about women over 30 because women over 30 still look fairly young. They're not grandmas.
No. I mean, unless they gave birth at 14 and then their daughters gave birth at 16 or something. But yeah. And I'm just making a really bad joke here. I'm not.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about like first time dating to like get married, have kids. Of course, we can date, in our 90s.
Yeah. Da, da, da. Okay. Now, some people might find out that maybe their age difference, they were attracted to much younger or much older partners, widened abruptly. And if that happens, so I've never seen it in my coaching practice, but if that happens, usually it's something that shifted inside the person. Maybe they just matured, abruptly, and they're all of a sudden attracted to more, I'm not older than them people who probably think more maturely as the person themselves does.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I've noticed. Or some people, maybe they were, I've actually had this happen to me just once in my life, and it was really scary in the beginning. For whatever reason, you seem to get attracted to really much younger people. I'm talking 16 years younger. Let me tell you, when that happened, I was in a context, it was a volunteering context, and all of a sudden this volunteer who's in his 20s shows up, and I just found the guy instantly attractive. And when I found out how old he was, I was like, what is going on with me? What's happening? I didn't act on it or anything, but I was shocked, like, what the heck? um,
Yeah, the attraction was there.
yeah, yeah. And I wasn't in a midlife crisis. I mean, I'm I'm having other kinds of crises not related to my age. So it was just somebody that like had all the signs there, and I can relate to anybody who finds out or wakes up one day and realizes that they have the hots for somebody way younger than them. It doesn't mean they're going to act on it. It doesn't mean that their entire attraction pattern when it comes to age is going to change. Then again, this was just one experience that I've had. I did not have in coaching, and I didn't really go into a relationship on a personal level with somebody with such a wide age uh, gap, I think, between me and them. So, yeah.
Just an attraction, not dating. But what about with dating? I guess that's what we want people to look at, like for serious relationships. How close to your age do you need to get in order to have things in common?
I'm assuming here that most people are going to go the same way, um, which is somebody that you can actually talk more. Because in the end, this is what they say. In the end, we are stuck with the conversation, the level of conversation. So you need to have somebody with whom you can talk about stuff that you can process. Usually, an age gap, really big one, is kind of a problem when it comes to at least conversation and sometimes even perspectives on life. Somebody who's in their 30s might really want to develop more in certain areas, more stability, a more stable source of income, um, more settled into things. Or to the contrary, somebody who's in their 30s is getting a divorce and they want to go out there nuts and travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whereas somebody in their 20s, maybe they're just starting out and they want to build their business, build their income. Or to the other extreme, somebody's just party, 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 and really nothing matters. So when it comes to dating, I would think that you would look for compatibility, first of all, in perspectives on life and the depth of conversation. What is your take on this?
Yeah, I agree. If I can skip to our third point,
Mm-hmm.
which is examples of age difference couples, sometimes people can work out that have a huge age difference, like Jason Momoa and his wife, Lisa Bonet,
Mm-hmm.
and Madonna and whatever 20-year-old she's dating at the time. Of course,
Yeah.
she's a rock star, and rock stars, you know, love staying young forever and partying and dating younger people.
Yeah.
But like the example of Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet, they had a huge amount in common and they decided to build this family around them. But it's a rarity, especially today with like Gen Z and millennials. There's kind of a big difference with people that grew up with, they were born with social media and cell phones in their hand compared to, older millennials that can take a break from that.
Yeah. Um, One other discussion that we were having was on Fabio. You brought him up. He's he's not a millennial. He's a Gen Z baby boomer. What is he? We don't know.
Baby boomer. I guess, what is he, like 63?
Something like that. Yeah. So he's a baby boomer. Okay. And you sent me this article about him now wanting to find a long-term partner. And I checked it out. And one of the stuff that I noticed there was him criticizing the young generations nowadays because we're all day on our cell phones and on our laptops. And like he said in that interview, we're going to have our brains fried. Um, Side remark here, I'm translating my book. And after spending like days on days on days, and like 10 hours with my eyes to my screen, in one of the days I actually had to take a break because I felt like I had swords um, crushing my head. It was, and yeah, bad case of I don't know, like severe headache. Yeah. So
Overused eyes. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm guessing that for Fabio, who's looking now for a wife and to build a family and get settled down, have children, he's probably not gonna. I mean, most of the young people today are actually super connected to technology. It is so hard for people, especially now in the pandemic, to have their work and anything else unplugged. it's not impossible, but it's extremely difficult to be off the online grid, then it's hard for anybody to exist without it. And I'm guessing that somebody who's like us, let's say, or at least like me, uh, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, newsletter, all stuff like no, I might be younger, but I don't think somebody like Fabio is going to go for somebody that young, because younger generations now, differences in values, like extremely big differences in values. And he said it in that interview, he has a life. He doesn't have social media, he's got a life.
Got
So,
a life.
yeah.
But it's another good point with him because he wants to live off in the woods. And I know some of my people, they want to leave the city and live in the woods, kind of a hermit life, but have someone with them. The
Mhm.
other person has to be willing to live out in the woods with maybe less internet or slow internet. It's like you have to be talking with people with this age difference of, whether they can live without high speed internet or outside of the city without lots of things to do.
Yeah, that one thing that I'm looking at is the material foundation, because somebody who wants that kind of a lifestyle and wants to bring, I'm guessing a woman in her 60s probably might not be able to give birth. Although in the Bible it did happen at least once. But to give all examples on the planet, I thought of the Bible. But the idea is,
Yeah, it's happened a couple times in India, right? But out of, how many millions of times, trillions of times has it not happened for 60-year-old women?
yeah, so he's probably going to go for a younger woman. And the material foundation is going to have to be there, because if you want to live off the grid, because it sounds like somebody in his 60s now wants to live off the grid, uh, wow, you're talking about, okay, electricity, water, gas, buying your own food. I'm guessing they're not going to grow their own food, hunt their own meat, and all that. So I'm guessing they're still going to have to, most people depend on civilization, and they're going to have
Mhm.
money for all of those. And nowadays, it's really, I mean, unless you've amassed your fortune before the online era, maybe Fabio did and other people like him, but otherwise, you're gonna be dependent on where the money is nowadays. And it's in technology and in online, most of it. Um, Unless you have a food business or, you know, hypermarket, supermarket, stuff like that, and then it's not the online, people are still gonna have to buy food and clothes and hygiene stuff, products. But the material side of it is going to have to be there. So I think that's also important in age difference, big age difference in relationships. um, so those are my thoughts. Somebody like in his 60s right now probably will have a tough time finding somebody young, fertile, willing to live, or able, because willing and able, not the same thing in that kind of conditions, and also have their material side, set up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't have social media. I haven't had social media for years. I use YouTube. That's it. But I still spend a lot of time on my phone,
Ah,
on apps and, all the things else that are on our phone. But I'm not using social media. But to try to live totally without it, no. Especially like running a business and, just fun and etc.
yeah.
But I do live like out in the woods or whatever. I have all that opportunity, but I still spend time on my phone.
Mhm. Maybe somebody should write to Fabio and say, look, you need to be more understanding of the reality around you. Kidding. Okay. Now, one question that I'm going to go back to point number one. And this was, how do you view yourself, anybody watching, as a partner of normal age? Like age doesn't even cross your mind, young at heart, young in looks, young in everything, older, never even
Mhm.
crossed your mind. Like this is an important question to look at, related to this topic. Maybe you're attracted or to people who are much younger or much older, but how do you see yourself? This is something that I would always ask anybody that I would work with. So how do you see yourself? Age not important. If it is important, then you're older, you're younger. Sometimes people go through these. Again, something changes inside of them. I remember watching interviews of Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp, who, you know, he had a lot of gifts from Mother Nature, one of them being looks. And the guy in his 40s, he started calling himself an old man. And everybody, like all the fans were like, what? What is he on? He's always on something, but what is he on right now? Because he doesn't look old. What is he talking about? In his 40s. And I'm thinking, so what is somebody in their 60s or 70s gonna say if you in your 40s think you're old? And so that's an important question. How do you, whoever you are watching, how do you view yourself? And what do you base?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. We should ask our own self. Because, I hear a lot of people looking for someone very young and active, but then I'm looking at them and I know they're not very active. And even, teaching yoga and that sort of thing, I know how active they are. So we have to be realistic with ourselves too, that we don't have to have someone extremely active if we're not very active ourselves. They're looking more for youthful maybe, or ourself 10 years ago. So be very specific with like who we are and who we're really looking for.
Okay. So people who are looking for younger partners, whether it's men or women, what do you think they're looking for? Somebody who looks younger, somebody who behaves younger, combination of these?
Looks younger.
Looks younger. Okay. So the looks. Okay. I'm going to give examples of public people because it's easier for everybody, not necessarily it's easier for most people to relate. So I've been watching at two women. One is Michelle Pfeiffer and the other one is Téa Leoni. And Michelle Pfeiffer, both Michelle and Téa are somewhere in their late 50s now, or mid 50s to late 50s. Both gorgeous when they were younger, gorgeous now. And I think Michelle, in an interview, she was saying that somewhere around her late 30s, early 40s, she had this, the face starts to change. And she started, like, every day she saw a new wrinkle appear on her face. And in her case, she's an actress, very famous actress on Hollywood, gorgeous. A lot was based on how she looked. And when she started getting older, that affected her status on Hollywood and how attractive she was, how searched or sought she was for roles. And she said it, after the late 30s, early 40s, it got easier because the pressure to look young when you're no longer, you're in your 40s, 50s, you look like somebody's in their 40s and 50s. The pressure, it suddenly, like, there's this struggle for a few years and then you kind of give up because aging has been around forever. Everybody ages. So even nature, it just it ages slower. Like trees take much longer to live than people, but still, there is this, like, it's important to look at yourself and see, okay, how do I see myself and what do I want right now? Also, what do I feel I can attract right now? What I like, I don't know about Michelle Pfeiffer, who she's dating. She's been very discreet about this. Never, I don't pry. But I do know that Téa Leoni, she dated somebody her age, David Duchovny, X-Files, great guy. And now she's dating somebody also her age, her co-star from Madam Secretary, the show that she was on for a few years. And one thing she also commented was that in the beginning, like somewhere in her 30s, when she was 34, a director commented that she was still doable. And she was like, wow, I was just 34. And now she's in her 50s. And she said, thank God that entire pressure on me to look young, to stay young when I'm already I have a certain age right now. I can be me. I can be relaxed. I'm actually, she's the main star in the show, and she's in her 50s. It's possible. She looks great, by the way. And she's happy, with her age. Nobody puts pressure on her anymore. You're in your 20s, or you're gone. You don't exist anymore. And her life partner is of the same age with her. So, so these are examples from people that, famous people, relatively. We could mention also Keanu Reeves. He's dating somebody who's his age. And in the beginning, when he showed up, actually, yeah, I think he showed up for some awards with Alexandra Grant. She's a woman who's as old as he is. She has white hair. She doesn't dye her hair. And everybody was like, what are you doing with that old woman? I don't know what the word was. And everybody was expecting Keanu, because he's a sex symbol still. And I don't know, he was still in his glory. He was expected to date somebody younger. No, the guy wants somebody his age. So I think that this is, and actually,
Yeah, he was looking for someone with a lot of similar hobbies.
Yeah. So it's important to look at, okay, how do I see myself? And then what do I want from the other person? These two are related.
Yeah, another thing to think about with age is, why are they waiting to their 40s and 50s to even settle down? Why do we keep putting off settling down, or, we're with the wrong people, or we just think we have forever? So it's like, the people watching in their 20s and 30s, like, knowing, maybe don't keep dating another, until your 50s, like these people. Know that, narrow down what you're looking for, because it does get harder as you get older. And, who wants to keep dating forever, especially online dating?
Uh, I recently shut down my Bumble account. I'm like, okay, I tried it again. It's not for me. So whenever I meet the person, I'll meet him, but not on an online app, for sure. But one answer that comes to mind is a song from Dire Straits, "The Walk of Life." I think everybody has their own walk of life, and some people, I think there's a lyric in this song. Here comes Johnny. He got married or something. Johnny, who was supposed to be in his 40s. Um, Maybe some people just don't meet the right person. I don't think. I mean, it is a point on our list today that maybe you already met the love of your life. But
Yes.
for some people, maybe they didn't. And I think this is a matter of the soul and the heart, to actually sit down and really, feel into it. Did I meet the right person yet? Or my life partner? Did I let them go? Was I careless? Did I not notice the person in front of me? Or, what happened?
Yeah.
And I had a few stories here. I know I shared them with you. I hope it's okay to share them here as well.
Sure.
Okay. So I had one of my first crushes when I was 12. I kept in touch, and I found out that this guy, he married somewhere in his 30s, but he married somebody that he had dated years before. So in his case, he dated several women. And at a certain point, when he decided, okay, I want to settle down, he sat down and he felt into his situation, and he was like, okay, I already know who I want to marry. So he went back to one of his former girlfriends. And another situation, this one I heard it, this is about a colleague of mine from my environmental NGO. Um, this guy was also like, he was a bit of a Don Juan, and he had dated several women. And at a certain point, when I met him in the NGO, he was married, he had a child, and I was speaking to his wife. He brought his wife to some of our encounters, and she told me, like, out of the blue, she just shared how they met and what their life story was. And she was like, we dated several years back. We broke up like in very good terms. And we just decided, okay, the relationship, it's kind of done and we're okay. And we want to go and explore with other people. And then at a certain point, they both reconnected when they were both ready. And it happened to happen at the same time. This was huge synchronicity, and they got back together and they married. So this isn't everybody on the planet, obviously. And I never focused a lot on these two stories
Mm,
until we started thinking
wow.
about doing the age difference. Some people may have already met their life partners, others maybe not, but we never know until we sit down and feel, like really feel into our soul. Okay, who do I?
Feel and think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So listen to your
And we
heart.
just had doubts or we wanted to keep dating.
Yeah, where we just weren't paying attention. Sometimes
Yeah, but for a lot of them, that person's going to be settled down with someone else now.
that was
But
Fabio's case.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah. But, I know, we have almost 8 billion people on the planet, like 7 billion adults. I believe there's more than one person for everyone.
uh,
So if you look back and you're like, oh, that was the right person for me, but you see they're settled down, I believe there's more people. I don't believe in only one soulmate.
that I agree. um, I just want to believe that for some people, the second soulmate is still somewhere geographically accessible, especially nowadays. Because if one of them is living in Japan and the other one is living in England, it's gonna be tough. You know, talk about these messes up that life does in general. Sometimes life plays with us also, um, just for a bit, to test us. But yeah, this
Mhm,
is also,
mhm.
and what I also know is that some people, they might not marry or find the life partner. And I believe that it's important, like it is important to, no matter what, to be centered and to ground yourself with your emotions, with your um, thought patterns, because a
Mhm.
lot of it starts from here. Like all the worry that you have comes from your head also. With your sexual impulses, with finances, maybe, because some people also marry for or seek life partners for security. So maybe it's a good idea to ground ourselves if we have it in us to do it, because it's not always easy
Yes.
to do all this work alone.
Yeah, that goes with their final point of thinking negative, thinking only the wrong people are available or they're not in, the country or city where you live,
Mm.
like waking up every morning being positive about it, doing things where you can meet like-minded people. Because
Yeah,
I believe, if someone's ready, they can meet the right person. And hopefully they're near them. But if you just keep focusing on only wrong people are available or no one is around my age is available,
yeah,
or I'm too old to date, or I'm too old to go out, or whatever, or I'm too young to go out and meet people.
I agree. Yeah, positive thinking or at least constructive thinking. Um, I think that's extremely important. One thing that I want to encourage everybody here, let's say you do meet your life partner, no matter how old they are or young they are, sometimes you might come across some challenges, that life brings to you. So a constructive mindset and the habit of, okay, we have this problem here, what do I do, how do we work it out, how do we fix it basically, or how much is in our powers to do, and be realistic with that. I think that's extremely important, and that is something that you build on your own. You don't need a partner in order to build that kind of mentality and approach to life. So that's super important, no matter how old, young you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I will give an example for myself here.
Okay.
So, like yesterday, I said, because I'm living in like hermit land. I'm like a couple of hours from a city, like 45 minutes from kind of a small town. I'm in like a hippie area and I live on like kind of a community property with a couple of houses. So good for like meditation life, not good for meeting people. So yesterday I'm like, I was gonna go take this like samba Brazilian dance class, and before I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to a restaurant and someone's gonna hit on me there. That's like my thinking. And like before, like this whole 2020 stuff, I really wouldn't talk to people at restaurants or think about any of that. But anyway, I went out thinking that, and I had that mentality. And sure enough, someone asked me for my phone number.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And is it
Yep.
an eligible match or?
I have been getting a lot of texts, so it wasn't just like, oh, get the phone number and then silence.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But
Awesome.
I went to like a restaurant that would have like-minded people. Like I went to like a Jamaican restaurant, so it has like that similar kind of vibe to like what I would like.
Okay. I've
But it's
never been
like,
to a Jamaican restaurant. I have no idea what that looks like.
oh, more like beachy, relaxed kind of vibe.
Uh-huh.
Maybe more
They have on the
vegetarian
menu.
friendly.
Ah, okay. And rum or what do they drink? Like, what's the favorite drink in Jamaica?
Rum, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But you have the whole Rastafarian people that don't drink alcohol at all. So
Oh,
I think this one doesn't serve alcohol.
uh-huh. Okay. Non-alcoholic cocktails. Sounds great for me. We should have
Yeah.
a Jamaican restaurant in Romania. What the heck are we doing? We don't have one. Let me tell you, we do not have one. So somebody should build one by the sea, probably. Mm. Okay. I think we hit pretty much everything that we had on our list. Let me make sure that we didn't forget anything. Oh, the aging process. We didn't. We didn't hit everything on our list. Remember what we were when we were discussing about older people looking for younger partners? And one reaction that we had, well, why would somebody younger, like 40 years younger or 30 years younger, why would they date somebody who's like that far away from them in physicality at least? And we were talking about, okay, what is going on with women when they reach, let's say, 50, 60? The body changes. And reproduction is probably off the table with them. And what else was it? So menopause, the body doesn't look young or so young. And then we were looking, well, what happens to the men when they reach 50s?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And remember what you said?
Tell me exactly what I said.
You were like, well, they also get wrinkles, they also get white hairs. Maybe they need some help with the intimate performance sometimes.
Performance
Yeah,
with medication or at
yeah.
least herbs. All men over a certain age are taking saw palmetto or Viagra, Cialis.
Mhm.
Tantra can help. Sexual kung fu can help, but they age too. They have to do things to assist them.
Everybody ages, basically. That was the point. So everybody's gonna have the body does what it does. And just because you're a guy, because some of the comments that I got on my channel were super nasty towards women. They were like, nobody cares. They want a younger woman who's more fertile, more coachable, more trainable. And when I read that, and they don't want, what was it, the older broads with a higher body count and more expectation. I was like, this guy, somebody left that kind of a nasty comment. And I was like, well,
Oh, that's yeah, and that's someone too that's looking more to control someone. They're looking to have a lot of girlfriends. They know someone older isn't going to, we're going to be looking for relationships or not someone that has 300 girlfriends or people they're dating. But I see that quite often where an older person likes a younger person because they can control them almost in a like BDSM sense, like tell them exactly what to do and they'll do it.
Well, the question that I had was like, why somebody who's in their 20s and or 30s, why would they date? Maybe they want somebody who's their age. Maybe they want somebody who's thinking like them. Maybe they don't want to be controlled. Maybe they want to feel free in a relationship with somebody. So maybe they don't want to be a younger woman who's more trainable and she's just there to give birth to babies. Because I'm always asking myself this, and I always encourage people to ask themselves, what do I want and what does the other person want? Who says that a younger person doesn't want to live their youth and like live it the way they want to, not to be told how to live their lives? That's a dangerous perspective when it comes to relationships. And I mean, the insults aside, for older broads with higher body count, that's insulting. Maybe a woman who's in her 40s, maybe she doesn't have, maybe she had 3 or 4 partners all her life, so that's not always the case.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, you never know. You never know, even when it comes to men. Maybe they reach 50s, but maybe they've had like 2 stable relationships in their lives and they didn't cheat or go on the side. Maybe they didn't opt for an open relationship and so on. So it can happen to both men and women that maybe they don't have a higher body count no matter what their age is. And I don't think there's a shame in that. If I'm going to be honest, sexual growth isn't about how many people you were intimate with. So what's your body count? It's not that. In my perspective, it's about how well you know yourself and how well you're paying attention to the person next to you, how well you can harmonize your desires, your needs. So these are different values, but everybody ages. The body's gonna have the same, like for both men and women, aging comes with certain realities and situations, and also experience doesn't always come from a high body count. Basically, that was my thought.
no, it's also, yeah, also growing emotionally mature and learning how to connect with someone, how to be intimate with someone as you are as an intimacy coach.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Emotional maturity, psycho emotional maturity. And I mean, who knows, maybe soul deep relationships, soulful relationships, somebody that you're, I don't know, expanding from all perspectives and you actually feel fulfilled with the person. That's a soul relationship. I still believe those are possible. And I still believe that if we're paying enough attention, we actually can find somebody with whom we can have that soulful relationship. And we're just gonna, it's different than just entering a relationship because you have to, because it's the right age to do so.
Yes,
Without
yes.
time. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that. I got Mars in Sagittarius. This is a woman girl talk now. So Mars in Sagittarius, I am definitely gonna go for what I believe in, what I highly vibrate for. So I go for
Yes.
higher objectives, higher aspirations. One of the words that I use is I want to aspire to be in an intimate relationship with somebody. That's Mars and Sag. Sorry, I got into astrology here. I don't know if you're a fan of it, but I am. So,
I definitely am too.
okay. I'm not going to ask you where your Mars is, though. Maybe I ask you privately and then you want to
I
share.
have, yeah, I've frightened people. I have Aries and 6 different planets. I'm like Aries, 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 and then I'm like a little Libra and Pisces.
Uh-huh. Well, okay. Well, after we finish this call, we can talk about
Mhm.
astrology. Coming from a Libra stellium. So, polarity here. Okay. Now we know where our attraction comes from. Professional, Okay, so I think we're done with the topics that we had for today. We went a bit, zigzag from topic to topic. It'll take a bit for me to establish the time stamps, but I will do so to the very best of my abilities. And as always, I'm going to encourage people to, to let us know what they think about this discussion, if there's anything else that they want us to approach in the future. And where can they find us? Where can they find you, Debra?
They can find me on solotantra.com.
Okay. And I'll also link your YouTube channel in the video. Okay. And you can find me on lianabuzad.com. Put the link underneath. And I'm going to have news for everybody, but different video for that. So, Debra, I was super excited to have you today. And I'm looking forward to the third episode, or maybe we just do our own podcast from now on.
Yeah. So we can get like very specific and share more stories and maybe have interviews.
Yes. Ooh, 3-some and 4-some interviews. Okay. Okay. So bye, everybody. See you in the next videos with Debra, on my own, with all sorts of things that come up. Bye.
Bye.